Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if I can ask you to please take your seats. We're going to start on the regional council debate. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. You're joining us for the regional councillor debate. Okay, thank you so much. Once again, please ensure your phones are on silent. If you do, try to minimize the movement of going outdoors once the debate starts, which is now. The time is 8:07. We'll be going till 9:15 for this debate. Once again, if you would like to view the earlier debate or this debate, you can do so at ajax.ca/debates with an S, DEBATES. It'll be posted around midday tomorrow. Yesterday's debate, not as relevant, but that one's already up. But tonight's debate will be posted midday tomorrow. For the sake of brevity and not boring you, I am not going to go through all those opening statements again. If you're just joining us, it's pretty straightforward. We are having a debate that does have certain rules. The candidates have been briefed on their rules, especially when it comes to timing. For the audience, just for you to remind you, when you do ask your question, you have 30 seconds to ask your question, in which the candidates will give a reply one at a time, which I will control who will go first on that. We ask that your questions be respectful, concise, clear. You're welcome to add some context within that 30 seconds, but please try to keep that brief. You'll see a yellow card. That means your time's coming to an end. From Colleen here, once you see that, please get to the heart of your question. What is that question you really want them to be direct in their answer about? And please try not to engage with them into a discussion. If you do have more information, say they didn't answer it the way you wanted to hear the answer, please save that for after the debate in the hallway, or even in this room. We'll open up for a little while for you to discuss a little further. If you'd like to have a longer debate, I'm sure they would be very happy to knock on your door and potentially have coffee or tea with you. So we'll leave that up to their discretion. But we'll move into the opening remarks. We have both our candidates for the regional council candidates here today. So I would like to invite Marilyn Rocker to come give her opening remarks for 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I have to lower this. I either stand or sit tall. Oh. I didn't need these 4 years ago either, so that tells you something. Good evening. Look at all of you out there. Thank you so much for coming out on such it's on the middle of the week, and it's a busy week for everybody, so thank you for coming out. My name is Marilyn Rocker. I lived in Ajax for the past 27 years, along with my husband Rick. We have raised our 2 children here, and now partner with our daughter, raising our granddaughter, Riley. I have had the privilege of serving the people of Ajax as a school board trustee with the Durham District School Board for 10 years. After that, and until now, I have represented this ward as your local councillor. It's been a privilege, and I thank you for having confidence in my abilities. During this time, I have served on the Pickering BIA for 8 years, the Transportation Advisory Committee for the past 4 years. The last year, I've attended every Ajax Pickering Row Watch meeting, Neighborhood Watch, Friends of Hermitage Park, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee, and also sat on the Ajax Municipal Housing Committee. I now ask you one more time for the honor of serving Ajax, but this time in the position of regional councillor. I continue to be committed to be accessible to my constituents. We've gained much in the way of mutual understanding and knowledge through our regular community meetings, as well as on phone and through email. I love it when I return a phone call and somebody says, "Oh, we didn't expect you to actually call me back." We have challenges here in Ajax that need to be addressed. We've heard that our transit continues to be a challenge, jobs, traffic congestion, and taxes. Along with those challenges, though, come opportunity. With the onboarding of a new CAO come fresh ideas and new perspective that are very exciting. I am excited about the next 4 years, and I sincerely hope to be a part of this ever-evolving Ajax.
Thank you, Marilyn. And next to the like to invite up Mohammed Ali Karatala.
First of all, thank you to the town and all involved for arranging this important forum for residents for they can meet and hear firsthand from all the candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family and fellow candidate, my name is Mohammed Karatala. I've lived in Ajax now for 18 years, and prior to that I was in Pickering for 12, so altogether in the region of Durham, I've now been for over 30 years, and I have the gray hair to prove it. I'm now running for regional councillor in Ajax Ward 1. You know, we've knocked on thousands of doors in the last few weeks, and the first question I always get is, what's your platform? What are your issues? And my answer is always the same. Ajax is my home. Ajax is your home. These are all our issues. And the sad part is that there are the same issues discussed in the last election. And here we are again, 4 years later, same old, same old. You know, hot buttons like local jobs, safety, seniors and youth, waterfront and green spaces, taxes, bike lanes, transit. People have a lot on their minds this time. You know, as past president of Tip Top Tailors, George Riches and Timberland, I was accountable for a $250 million company with over 2,000 employees. And I was accountable for the livelihood of all of these people. As Divisional Vice President of Home Sense and Winners, out of a budget of $800 million, I was accountable to deliver efficiently and profitably. I was also fortunate to found my own menswear stores called Pinstripe Menswear, which grew to 22 stores across Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a proven track record for accountable fiscal responsibility and a commitment to execution. I've also shown my commitment to Ajax with all my heart as a volunteer. I'm not looking for another career. I'm looking to bring preservation of our heritage, public safety for our town, and prosperity to Ajax. Friends, public service should be a calling, not a career. Residents at the doors have told us they want change, and this election, there are no incumbents, so please make your vote count. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Now it's your turn. So please, yeah, come up to the mic. We have our Twitter.
Sorry about that. It's still the angriest me on Twitter. Regional Road, Regional Intersection, Westie and Kingston. That construction project is about a year overdue. In the real world, if a contractor is a year late on getting a job done, they probably don't get paid. So what are we going to do to ensure that in the future, when a contractor or anyone who contracts with a region, what are we going to do to ensure that they get their work done on time and on budget?
Thank you for getting the work done on time and on budget. In regards to the road issue, Marilyn, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Angry Man Aiden. I really wish I had a good answer for you on this one because, as you know, I've not served on the region. However, the intersection of West Knee and 2 has been a frustration for just about anybody who lives in the old Ward 3, the new Ward 1, and anybody passing through that intersection. My understanding is every time they dug, they hit a pipe and they had to stop. Contracts should be honored. I don't know in this particular case what has happened with that particular developer, or I guess not only maybe a contractor, but I believe that you're right, that if you can't fill a job within the time frame that should be done, then you shouldn't get paid.
Thank you, Marilyn. Mohammed.
I love the question because I actually live right at West Ninive too. And not only that, but it's also close to my heart because I come from a background of accountability. Running an $800 million operation or a $250 million company with a lot of accountability, you have to have contracts that are efficient, that are flexible, and that protect both sides. In this case, this will be very close to my heart because this is right in my backyard, but it's also something that I'm very passionate about, holding everybody accountable. And I think that also speaks to the fact that we have so much inefficiency, not only in the town, but in all its operations. Going forward, I think I would definitely be one of the guys that would be not very well liked on council because I'd be pushing for total accountability and transparency.
Thank you. Question. Sir, you're ready to go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jeff. Unlike both of you, thank you for volunteering for this. I've only been in Ajax 2 years. I followed the love of my life here. When I got here with her, at the foot of my street, there was a bus stop. I could take the bus to the GO station. About a year ago, the bus moved and is now another 4 or 5 blocks away from where I live. Why is the last mile struggling so much, and what would you do to make transit better in our city?
Okay, what to do to make transit better in Ajax? We'll start with Mohammed on this one.
Again, from what I've heard at the doors, and literally knocked at thousands and thousands of doors, is that first and foremost, we don't even have a connection between the south and the north. And transit has become a large issue in this thing. Even though it's a regional responsibility, it does impact our daily lives on an ongoing basis. Some of the solutions that I want to bring to the table is the fact that we should do a total comprehensive review of the routes, from connectivity, making sure that one bus kind of connects with the other one. If you take a bus, if you get to GO train, that thing doesn't kind of connect with the time that you get there. You're either going to miss that train or it's not going to be there. To ridership, to making sure that there's no redundancy in all these routes. To timeliness, this is something else that's a major factor for everybody else. To accessibility, and to make a strong case to the region to optimize bus routes, and also to coordinate with other providers. The interesting stat there is that ridership since 2014 is actually down regionally, but the region has planned another 5,300 hours of conventional service in 2018. So this is definitely something that you would need a very loud voice at the regional level. And I think that I could be the guy that would bring accountability to that fact.
Thank you, Mohammed. Marilyn.
Thank you. Even though we have a lot of issues with our transit, the last report that came out, we know that ridership is actually up 2.4% last year. We are targeting actually 2.5% above budget. Pulse is trending over 50% higher than expected. That's good, but we still know we have issues. We need to increase, the increased ridership is actually largely to the U-Pass, followed by co-fare and then adult passes. We are missing the boat when it comes to our youth. We virtually have no youth on our transit. What I would be lobbying for is free ridership for children under 12. This can be done because 90% of those children will be accompanied by a paying adult. We know that the $93.50 is too much for a monthly pass. Why? Because no one's buying it. I think we need to look at decreasing that to $40. I believe that we would make up that loss by sheer volume of people taking up bus passes. The GO Transit has switched their schedule from every half hour to every 15 minutes. We need to keep up with this and change our high-frequency buses to match this, which would be the 915, the 216, and the 224. We have reduced rates for seniors, and I would suggest that this should be extended to our low-income family. Those are a few things that I would be lobbying for.
Thank you, Marilyn. And Mohammed would like to do a rebuttal. Mohammed, can you just move the mic a little bit?
Sure, yeah, so absolutely. Sorry about that. As a matter of fact, Durham Region did put out a budget paper that very clearly states that since 2014, when it was 10.5 or 10.7 million ridership, after that, 2015 and 2016 and 2017 have consistently been down to 10.2, 10.2, and 10.2. And they're projecting that 2018 is actually going to be 10.5, I believe. I don't have the numbers in front, but ridership is most definitely down.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Marilyn would also like to use a rebuttal.
So my stats here are from 17 to 18. The stats from 17 to 18 show ridership is up.
Right?
Okay, and just so you know, Mohammed, this will be your final rebuttal for tonight.
I'm fine with that. I like
Okay,
Marilyn.
so Mohammed will use the
I like
second.
Marilyn enough, we can
We're not
talk
taking
about
a
this.
picture again.
No. So the 2018 that Marilyn's referring to is actually a projection. It's not an actual number, so that's incorrect. And again, from 2014 to 2017, ridership has been down. 2018 to 10.8, I believe, or 10.7 is a projection, not an actual.
I'm going to say that.
Okay, so Marilyn's going to say first. Thank you for your patience, sir. Please go ahead.
I've got a question on a little different subject. In here lots about traffic and transit, nothing about pedestrian safety. And I am a year-round, all-weather walker. I go through that intersection of 2 and Westney several times a week, Church and Highway 2. I've also seen Highway 2 and Westney. Do you have any thoughts on practical measures that you could take to make those major intersections safer for pedestrians?
Okay, measures to be taken to make pedestrian safety a priority. We'll start with Marilyn on this one.
Thank you. Sitting on the Ajax Pickering Road Watch Committee, the Westney and Highway 2 intersection has often come up. Something very radical that could be done is having pedestrians cross on the X, having all traffic stop and have pedestrian crossing right through with no traffic whatsoever. I actually think it's crazy radical, but it makes more sense. All the traffic comes to a halt, pedestrians cross with safety. That's one idea. I am prepared to advocate for that.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. Mohammed.
I think that's a fair suggestion. Downtown Toronto has done it at very high density and have very high traffic locations like Yonge and Bloor and several other locations where it entire traffic stops and it really goes around. I think that's a fair suggestion. I would definitely support that too.
Thank you, Mohammed, and thank you for your question. Great question. Welcome back, sir. Whenever you're ready, please.
Les Carbonero. So, been here pretty much all my life. I remember the dial-a-bus. Sorry to take you back to transit. I mean, that's how it started. Dial-a-bus, little vans. You guys remember that? And abandoned that as soon as I became a teenager and got my own car. But what I have noticed in the last few years are the number of people that are at the bus stops. I'm really surprised that ridership down. I see it continually increasing. I have a disabled son. He's 30 years old. He's been on a waiting list for 7 years to get on the handicapped transit to get to work, right? So I see my children, none of them have cars. They're all taking transit. I think transit is a big issue. I think the local stuff is good. I think the region has a lot of work to do, and you're both new going there, so I don't expect you to have the answers right away. But I would like to know somewhat an idea of what your priority concerns are at the regional level.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you very much for the question. I think even though the ridership is down, to address something else, again, the information that I've read is that the region has planned 5,300 more new hours of conventional service. Some of the issues that have come to the table from talking to residents is the fact that, which Marilyn also mentioned, is the cost of for a young person to ride back and forth. And I think we all want to reduce the traffic on our roads, which is less greenhouse gas emissions, less gridlock. So one of the things that Kingston has done as a pilot is to give grades 9 to 12 an entire free pass for the year. They found great response to it. They've got ridership going on, and they feel that this could, and that would actually extend it going forward. I would support something like that. Something else that I really think that is close to heart is accessibility for seniors. I know that in some places where the routes were changed without any consultation, it's definitely put a lot of pressure on it. How about door-to-door for seniors? That would make too much sense, wouldn't it? Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn.
I think that definitely the cost is one of the biggest barriers to people not taking up ridership on our transit. I think that the reason why we're seeing less youth on the buses is because a few years ago the Durham District School Board decided to take busing on themselves. So the Catholic Board had always bought passes for their students, and they were able to access it at their cost. So what ended up happening was the Durham District School Board was not able actually to purchase that kind of, have that clout or the money to do so. And so they decided to start using the yellow buses. So they're free. And so if you drop it a free bus versus a $93 pass, what are you going to take? So I think that we really need to get back to the table with the Durham District School Board. We need to talk about how we can get our students back on the bus. Once you have them on the bus and they're used to riding on the bus, this is what we need to do. The other thing that I'm hearing is when buses are late, where's the accountability for that? If you've got a bus that is constantly 15 minutes late, you're not going to use it anymore, but who's making that bus accountable? Who's making that driver accountable? How do you find that stuff out? That's what I'm going to be looking into when I'm elected.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for the question, sir. And you're going to go ahead, sir.
Yes, my name is Andrew Gooden. In the previous debate, there was a lot of discussion about property taxes, and I've been to a number of town council meetings where we discuss taxes. But the Durham region taxes are a bit of a black box to me. I don't think I've ever seen any of the reports that I've seen from the Ajax Council. What kind of ideas, what kind of initiatives will you be doing at the regional level to address the regional portion of all our property taxes with respect to, I guess, maintaining it at least or perhaps reducing it? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with Marilyn on this one.
Well, from a regional point of view, I'm going to be there representing Ajax. Ajax residents are the ones that are going to be voting me in, so that is who I'll be representing at the region. I know the region has a lot of money in their reserves. I think it's like $500 million. I'm wondering maybe if there's some of that money that could be freed up to help local municipalities with economic development. We know that there's a strong partnership between the economic department in the region and with the different municipalities. I would suggest that we need to be looking at our neighbors on our left and our right. Pickering and Whitby, their industry land, their industrial lands are flourishing. Ours are still empty. We have a large degree of bureaucracy that we need to really get into our departments and start deciding what's really important, what isn't really important. We need to, the businesses that we can attract, we need to start creating champions. There's a large network amongst those businesses, and we need to have champions that are going to go back through those networks and say that Ajax is the place you want to go because you're going to do what you need to get done.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Clarification, I think the question was, what would we do at the regional level to pay the taxes? Or to minimize the
property
taxes?
taxes.
Okay, so currently, I'm sure you've heard the statistics already that up to 50% of our taxes are taken by the region on an ongoing basis. So I think that's a requirement. I'm not sure that any individual town can extract themselves from that percentage. I think that's set by the region as a whole. So to answer directly your question, I'd have to find out more information and figure that out. But I know that at a local level, there's many strategies that we can do to minimize minimize the increases that could be forthcoming for the services we need to provide on an ongoing basis. But at the regional level would definitely be an exploration and figuring out how the mechanics work of what each town and each municipality is required to submit as a percentage of their taxes.
Thank you, Mohammed. Okay. Anybody else like to come up to Mike? There's no wrong question. Oh, there we go. I like the termination. Oh, there, everyone. Please go ahead, sir.
I'm Eugene Stephen. Just a follow-up on that in terms of what you would be doing to help at least maintain taxes at the same level, or see what could be done in that context.
Thank you. So just to clarify, taxes on a broader scale, not necessarily just property, correct?
I'm looking at property taxes.
Oh, it's still property. Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, so go ahead, Mo.
So this is also a big talking point, one of the biggest beefs that the thousands of doors that we've knocked about, the amount of taxes that people are paying. And, you know, the answer is very simple, that as residents, we shoulder the majority of the burden of all the taxes. And we have over 50 acres of serviced land that are sitting on Salem Road that the town and the council have not been proactive in trying to get businesses here. My very clear solution is that we bring more commercial businesses here that can actually now start to level up the playing field for all the taxes. As a point of interest, in Toronto, when businesses pay tax, they pay 3.2% more than the residential taxes. In Ajax, they only pay 1.5% more. So there's definitely room to move the needle up and still attract more commerce here to take the burden off of the residents in the amount of taxes that they're paying. But, you know, I can promise you that we can maintain the levels of service that we're already providing, which people are very happy with, and keep our taxes at least to a very minimal increase by bringing more additional business. And I do have very distinct and clear strategies on how to do that.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you. There isn't a single candidate running in this election that isn't going to promise you more jobs. We constantly have proposals coming through the town, but why are our lands empty? So I'm as guilty as any other of the elected officials at this point for not recognizing the bureaucracy that's in our own backyard. So I think first of all, we need to look at the processes that we are asking for our developers, our investors, what's bogging them down, and we need to eliminate those things. I would love to see actually an economic development advisory committee that would be made up of investors, of potential developers, but mostly of residents. As it was mentioned here before, we have a very intelligent group of people that live in our town. And I think that together, if we are working together, then we share in those successes. You become our champions out in your neighborhood. I honestly believe that we look at businesses as the thing that's going to solve everything. I think there's a lot of other things that we need to look at. I had a meeting with the new CAO. He talked about opportunities of increasing our funding without going into the pockets of our residents. And I would lie if I didn't say I came out of the meeting skipping because I was stuff that I had never heard before. Luckily he went one way and he didn't see me skipping the other way. Anyway.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for that question, sir. Sir, you're ready, please.
I'm afraid I distracted you when I talked about the transit. What really I was interested in is individuals, as people, as two that, and I thank you for stepping up to representatives. What motivates you? What issues are important to you? What are your priorities? What makes you tick, so to speak, you know, on the things that interest you in terms of sitting on regional council? What do you want to move forward for Ajax?
Okay, motivations and priorities individually. We'll start with Marilyn.
So one of the things that I would like to see is a police station in Ajax. This has been kind of a hot topic on social media for sure. Ajax is, whether you know it or not, is the 44th largest municipality in Canada. We don't have a police station. We've heard that violent crime actually is on the increase to 7.4%, which should concern everybody in the room. We know that $36 million has already been allocated in the police budget for a new station in North Pickering, in Seaton area. Another one has been scheduled for Clarington. I would be lobbying that the scheduled Pickering police station should come to Ajax. Understanding that a police station doesn't make a community safe, but if you're deploying your police officers, they're going through your streets to get to wherever they're going, and they're coming back to the station through your streets. So all of a sudden, you're increasing your police presence. I would like to seek the understanding of the rationalization for the police station in Clarington when the bulk of the population is west. To me, it makes sense to move that into Pickering, and that is one of the things that I'm going to be lobbying, or at least investigating when I get onto region.
Thank you, Marilyn. Mohammed.
Well, I guess I have a very large agenda based on what I want to try and get accomplished at the regional level. Policing is absolutely on the radar, but you know, and how that presence becomes as an enhanced presence, I'm not sure. Not committed to anything yet. If it's bricks and mortar, I'm all for it. If it's simply more boots on the ground, absolutely I would support that. But I think beyond that, there's many other things. There's a mental health strategy. I think there's literally an epidemic and it's a crisis situation with mental health accessibility to individuals that need it in the region of Durham. Family services, seniors. Durham region has already adopted an age-friendly senior strategic action plan. That was an initiative of the World Health Organization. I'm very, very sort of aware of that, because almost a third of our population by the year 2031 is going to be over 55 years old. And I see that as a looming situation that we need to address. So I have a very aggressive agenda at the regional level. I understand there's 28 very powerful individuals there, but I think we need a powerful voice, and I'd like to be the advocate for that voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Sula. I've been a resident in Ajax for 30 years. I have a quick question about the actual voting process. Now, it only comes up because just this week I received my PIN number in the mail. However, I received 5 of them, and only 1 is valid at my address at this time. So what safeguards do you have in place to deter fraudulent voting? For instance, what if I decide to use all 4 or 5 of those PIN numbers to vote for my candidates? Right? Why weren't those rerouted to the correct addresses?
Okay, so Mohammed will start with that. You do have clarification. Will work for me.
That's a minefield if I ever saw one. And you know, go ahead. I've had the same concerns when we went online, and I understand the technology is a large part of how we act and live and behave these days. And in the pursuit of facilitating everything, we tend to lose sometimes sight, and we do give up some security measures. In this case, I absolutely agree that there is room there, because there's room for abuse. Not only that, but it can also go another way, is that people could come to the door and say, hey, would you like me to help you vote? And here's my phone, or let me help you get online. So there is definitely a lack of security in there. I've actually tried to speak to somebody at the town, and they advised me that they were going to get back to me on the messaging from the town on that particular issue. But I do share your concerns.
Marilyn?
I'm assuming that the people that received envelopes no longer live in your house?
No, and there was also another issue where one individual got divorced, reverted back to their maiden name, so they got voting.
So we'll keep it at voting security and voting sort of things that can happen with this new online system.
Yeah. That's pretty sad. There's always a security risk when you go online. You lose control when you're not putting a ballot into a box. You don't come somewhere and you do the traditional style of voting. I know we go through many checks and balances. Obviously, we didn't do very good with your house. And so I guess the question that I would ask is, what did you do with them?
Track down those individuals.
Yeah, okay. Did that happen?
Okay, so I encourage you to ask. We still have about 15 minutes. So if you'd like to ask questions, but what I need is specific questions. So if you are getting sort of more cards, what is the question behind that? The intention you want the candidates to direct their answer to.
Hi there. My name's Mike. I live just north of here, and been a resident of Ajax for about 18 years. Pedestrian safety is a big concern, and I noticed Weston Road comes under regional authorization. Why are there no sidewalks leading up to Top Road?
Okay, for this one we'll start with Marilyn.
Okay, so the sidewalks are a local responsibility, believe it or not. Even on the regional roads, they are a local responsibility. For Ajax to install sidewalks, with the hope that eventually that road would widen, would mean it doesn't sound good, but that is the issue, is that if they put the roads, they put the sidewalks in now, and then the road gets widened, then the sidewalks come in and then they have to be re-put in. That doesn't really sound right, but they have to be reinstalled. It is not a safe place to walk up there at all. I wouldn't even bike up there. I am a biker. I don't even bike on Westney Road at all. And I do see many of the residents walking on the gravel. It was an issue 4 years ago. I went back to our staff to find out why we couldn't, and it was a simple answer that until that road is widened, the sidewalk won't be going in.
Okay, Mohammed?
I sometimes I think we get lost in doing logical things when we follow bureaucrats. It makes no sense to me to endanger people in the meantime while we're working on something. This is some of the things that I don't understand about how people sitting at a desk can make these massive decisions. It's no different than saying we're not going to put proper, safe bus shelters on Taunton Road because we're going to eventually widen that road. So in the meantime, while we wait maybe a year or two, I think 2020 is when Taunton Road is supposed to be widened to 6 lanes. In the meantime, people get killed, and I think 2 weeks ago, a pedestrian, a transit person who was waiting there for the bus got hit by a car that got into a car accident and took her out at the bus stop. So some of these things just don't make sense to me, and I think this is part of the illogical logic that the town has pursued for so long, and a new thought process. I think this is exactly what people tell me, time for a change, time for a new mindset. So we start doing stuff that makes sense for the town and its residents.
Thank you, Mohammed. When you're ready, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nancy Henry, and I am a Ward 2 candidate, but I'm also a resident of Ward 1. So this is kind of a question and a statement, because that lady's last statement about receiving more than one voter registration has concern for me, and there's a lot of candidates in this room right now. And also another gentleman put up his hand. So, and I'm not going to put this off on Marilyn because she already is an elected official. It's not fair to her because she just heard this information right now. But I know I'll be calling about this tomorrow.
So what was the question?
My question to both candidates is, how are you going to handle the situation, knowing that there's more than one person who has received
Thank you.
multiple voter?
For this one, we'll start with Mohammed.
That definitely is a predicament at this point. Other than trying to recall all those ballots, which would be a massive waste of time and money, I'm not sure that what the real solution would be, and I'm going to be very frank with you. I'm not going to try and sit here and come up with an answer, because I don't have the answer at this point. That is a predicament that the town has to address immediately, and I think as residents, we all need to make sure that our voices are heard and letting the town know that this is a huge issue, because I had the same concern when a certain sitting council was elected, when it made no sense how that whole thing worked back in 2014, because people were not supporting that candidate. So definitely this has been a systemic issue that the town has not recognized. And I would be, I'd like to group up with the residents and the other candidates to make sure that we can maybe have a very quick powwow meeting with the powers to be that are still sitting there, although they are lame duck council. But let's challenge them and figure out what the next steps need to be to bring security back to the voting process, because it is a democratic country. Thank you, Mohammed.
The fact of being called a lame duck council. I think the CAO's office is here, and I believe that there's emails already being sent to address this issue, probably in the office tomorrow morning. So I think that it will be addressed. There'll likely be an email coming out to everybody, all the candidates, to assure them of what their next steps will be.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. All right, our Ajax voice of Twitter.
Specifically, Highway 2. Do either of you have an opinion on the concept of making the bus lanes on Highway 2 open to all traffic during off-peak hours? So weekends and middle of the day, Monday to Friday, when the bus volume is far lower than it would be during rush hour. And a second question I have, because there's not really a lineup of people behind me, have we learned any lessons about the bad bike lane design on Highway 2? And are we going to avoid making those same mistakes on future bike lane projects on major roads in the future?
Thank you. We'll start with the bus lane, and just to clarify, opening it up during what's going to be done with it?
It's a wasted space, no buses are on it during
Great.
times when cars can be on it.
Thank you. Marilyn, we'll start with you.
Yes, I'm in favor of that. I don't think I would leave it open as a free for all. I think it needs to be either timed at a certain limit. So between 3 and 4, or whatever the time frame would be set. That happens in Toronto all over the place, where they've got shared bus lanes with cars. I think it's an excellent idea. I don't think we've learned our lesson on bike lanes with Highway 2, because I think we're currently trying to install them again further up the road where they're expanding them. I'm a biker. I bike a lot. I have never biked on Highway 2. So I don't, to answer your question, I don't think we've learned our lesson on that.
So, first of all, we don't have enough capacity in lanes for our cars, but aren't we all thankful to have bike lanes for sure? I also think that the bike and bus lanes are premature. We don't have the capacity to service the car traffic already, and we jumped the gun and went on with these bike lanes, which makes no sense. I know for a fact that there was many residents who signed hundreds of petitions to say we don't want these bike lanes on our streets, and the town went ahead, ignored these residents, and got those bike lanes installed there. And this is systemic of how this council and this town has treated, this mayor and this council has treated this town in responding to the residents' needs. I don't support the bike lanes at all. I think they're a nuisance. Most people can't figure out how to navigate through them. And to answer directly the question, absolutely. I think those bus lanes should be dedicated to rush hour traffic, and off-peak times, people should be able to use them freely whenever they need to move traffic along.
Thank you.
Sorry, please go ahead. Hi there, my name is Ken Chadwick. I've been a resident of North Ajax for 30 years. The big issue for me is around the environment. So I would like to know, as a regional councillor, aspiring regional councillor, what your beliefs are around climate change. And specifically, full disclosure, I sit on the Durham Region Roundtable for Climate Change as a representative of the K-12 education sector. And so I'd like to know if you'll support activities in Durham Region around climate change mitigation and adaptation.
Mohammed.
Absolutely, I think that's a great question based on our dedication and our love for our greenbelt areas and our conservation areas. And I think we have to recognize that we are custodians of the future, yet we continue to go from a production society to a consumptive society. And in that sense, we tend to overburden Mother Earth big time. The sad part is that on a local level, I'm told that the town has achieved its greenhouse gas emission targets, which were due by 2020, and they achieved them 5 years in advance. So that tells me that as a will of the town, as an intention of the town, those targets are very easily set. So again, I question, any target is easy if you set it for yourself. The other thing I absolutely support is making sure that we stop plastic bags. I'm done with those, and I know there's a lot of initiatives already in place for LEED certified buildings, LED street lights, solar power systems, making sure that our town fleet has hybrid vehicles, and this has all been proposed. The issue is, you can put everything back down on paper. After 4 years, how much of those plans have you actually achieved? And this is where my challenge to current council has been, that it's okay to talk about it. When are we going to get these things done? Because time is of the essence. We don't have a lot of time. Let's get stuff done now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Climate change is the responsibility of everybody. And so I would definitely be supporting any of the initiatives that are happening at the region. I do not support any kind of development on our waterfront. We try as a town to keep as much green space as possible. It's important that we, again, try to get more people onto our transit to reduce our carbon footprint, get people out of cars. We need less cars on our road. We need more people on our buses. And I know nobody likes bus lane or the bike lanes, but ideally that was the thought process in it, is to get people out of their cars onto a bike in a safer format. Again, reducing our carbon footprint. So I would be supporting definitely any of the initiatives that are happening at the region for this.
Thank you, Marilyn. Please come up to Mike. As a reminder, Regional Council deals with policing, transit, major roadways, and health and social services.
Okay, just checking. Just was wondering, a lot of talking about seniors, the additional senior buildings, aging population. Through Regional Council, dealing with emergency medical response, what plans do you have in place for that increase of seniors and the increase of senior buildings coming to Ajax?
Thank you, Marilyn.
This is definitely something that we've been hearing at the doors. A lot of our seniors are talking about the fact that they don't want to live in their 4-bedroom homes anymore. They want to be able to reduce their size. Unfortunately, we do have a complex going up at Roslyn and 2, which is seniors development. It's not exactly where I would want it to be in the least, but that is targeted for seniors living. It seems that everybody who's putting up living for seniors believes that all seniors are rich. So we haven't yet capped the market on affordable housing for seniors. I think that I would be suggesting that the region needs to do a strategic plan on housing for seniors across the region. It's not just Ajax it's affecting us all. With that, we're going to have to look at our emergency services, because we're going to be needing more people to be able to service those apartments or that form of living. And I think we need to continue to lobby both our provincial and our federal government to be giving us money to be able to construct these kinds of buildings.
Thanks, Marilyn. Mohammed.
So I think there's a multi-pronged strategy here at play too, because as our population continues to grow, and I think I alluded to the fact that the region of Durham has already adopted on paper an age-friendly strategic plan. And that, of course, comes into play as creating age-friendly communities for. So one of the things that's happening right now is that Marilyn alluded to is on Roslyn and Harwood, where there's a 15-story building going up. The problem with that, and that's a seniors rental building, there's another one going up at Ravenscroft and Taunton Road, which is coming up, I think, about 128 units. As far as emergency services, I'm actually aware that the last council has voted for 0 increase in emergency frontline services. Here's a stat for you, that we currently require 43 firemen to respond to 1 incident in a high-risk, high-vulnerable, low-mobility building such as a seniors building. With the advent of new seniors buildings going in, at that point on Bailey and Harwood, we were only able to muster up 15 firemen. That's according to the regulations the fire department has already set. So again, this is a council that has voted for 0 increase in frontline services. So this concerns me, the fact that our frontline services are like an insurance policy. You buy that ahead of the car accident that's going to happen. You don't wait for the car accident to actually happen.
Thank you, Mohammed. Other issues that might trigger some questions for you? The local council deals with fire services, road maintenance, recreation programs, parks and libraries. The regional council also sits on that, so any questions in regards to that? More policing, transit, major roadways, health and social services. No questions? Okay, then I guess I will ask a question. I've been given these questions, they're not mine, but can you please explain individually your vision of what you plan to see once you are in office and your top 3 priorities in regards to that? So we'll start with Mohammed on this one.
I think the top priority that I have is really bringing commerce here and creating jobs. And you've all heard the stats about how many people travel outside of Ajax and how we have lack of jobs. As I said, there's 50 acres sitting on Salem Road that you and I as taxpayers are paid to get serviced already. And those lands just sit there day in, day out. And as a matter of fact, Ajax has promoted, and the town council has promoted itself as Ajax First for Business. There was a website that was created way back. That website, as of August 2018, was citing stats from the 2006 census. That doesn't tell me they were very serious in promoting Ajax as First for Business. As of now, those stats have now been updated to 2016. I don't see the intent of bringing this business. There's a lot of talk going on, a lot of meetings going on. Let's move this to the next agenda. My vision is to bring prosperity, to bring safety here, to ensure that if it's police service enhancement or if it's a bricks and mortar situation, I'm okay with that. I want the seniors age-friendly policy and strategic plan implemented in the town of Ajax. Those are some of my 3 priorities that I really want to push for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Marilyn.
Again, mine would be economic. We need to do a better job at getting jobs here in Ajax, but not just in Ajax. We need to continue to expand the jobs in Durham region. Ideally, you'd like to live and work in the same place that you live. You'd like to work in the same place that you live, but it wouldn't be such a bad thing to have to drive to Whitby or to Whitby or to Pickering or whatever to work. But we need to get more industry here. We need to look at better ways, though, to get money into into Ajax. And like I said, there's grants that we can be applying for that we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg on. And I think that it's very interesting that we need to look outside of the box. We need to be accessing the monies that we haven't even touched at this point. And that's why it's really exciting that we have a new CAO. We're going to have a new director of planning. We have a great opportunity. There's a new CAO coming into the region, new chair of the region. There's lots of changes that are happening within Durham region that are going to bring lots of great new fresh ideas. And I think that, the traditional way of getting money could just change. And I think that that's really exciting for us.
Thank you. So if there are no other questions, we'll end the question period in the audience. Okay, so we'll move into closing remarks, and to start us off, Mohammed, if you'd like to come up.
So thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you again for your passion, your questions, and your commitment to change. I will leave you with the facts. I bring a solid business background and have had my own offices from the US to China. I have strong negotiating and relationship building skills, and I've worked with all levels of government, both in Canada and internationally. I've done business in and traveled extensively all over Korea, China, India, Pakistan, Europe, and Africa. I'm now focused on bringing that expertise to Ajax. I'm already in discussions with major investors that are ready to bring over $2 billion worth of investment into Ajax. Yes, that's $2 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our time, this is our place, this is our town. Please vote for me on October 15th, and let it be the start of a great relationship together. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for all of your questions. This is without a doubt one of the most terrifying things that any candidate does. Knocking on doors is easy. This is not. So I want to thank you. Change is coming to Ajax. I have been in Ajax for 27 years. We've had the same mayor for the 28 years. 28 years he was on as mayor. It's the first time we're actually really legit going to be voting for a new mayor. Legit. We have a brand new, like I said, a brand new CAO come in from outside of our town. It's very exciting changes are happening. There's no incumbent. There's not a single incumbent in any of the races in this race. There are 32 candidates running for 7 positions. If your door hasn't been knocked on, I don't know, 6 times already, we're not doing enough work. 0. Somebody's got 0 out there. So I just think that, again, we're in for change. You want change, this is what you're going to get. New CAO at the region, new regional chair. truly elected regional chair.
Thank you. Let's give our candidates another round of applause. And once again, a round of applause for all of you for sticking around and continuing to be here and support Ajax. As mentioned, this is the end of the formal portion. Our candidates will be in the hallway for you. If you have any further questions, thank you again for coming out. And remember to vote October 15th to October 22nd, anytime, anywhere. Take care, everybody, and get home safely.